Hey guys, how are yous? I don't really know how I'm going to get into this without sounding aggressive towards the hype at the moment, but it's become quite apparent that a lot of people are making very, very unlogical decisions based on hype of maybe this will go to the moon tomorrow. Obviously, this is regarding XRP. Now, I thought I'd touch on this video. As I said, I'm trying to make a start to finish of bringing people up to speed on what they need to know about investing in crypto, or mainly XRP, which is the one I'm not a maximalist, I just see it as the most potential in the market at the moment. But the point I'm trying to make here for this video is a lot of people are going, what I'd like to say, balls deep into their investment by investing way too much beyond their means that even if they wanted to wait, they physically can't because they've pushed themselves beyond their means. They've gone into debt, this, that, and the other. You know what I mean? Well, whether they've got mouths to feed, rent to pay, bills, this, that, and the other. It all adds up. And I want to touch mainly on the fact of the hype. At the moment, as you all probably know, SBI is going live today. Looking at the website, it was saying that it's going under maintenance. Now, I can guarantee you that at least 15% to 20% of the people that have heard this have deposited a large sum of money that they cannot wait for the boom to happen. Meaning, next week bills are coming, next week, oh, we've got a car repayment, next week this, that, and it's pointless because the money you're putting in now, to take it back out is going to cost you money if you need to take it out next week. Granted, if it doesn't go up. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't think XRP is going to boom. I genuinely believe it will, based merely on the facts of the matter. The partnerships that Ripple have teamed up with to utilize its digital asset. Now, I want to make a suggestion. Now, it's sort of a double-edged sword here, in the sense of people are going to go, oh, well, you told me not to invest too much money and then it booms. Or, I've invested too much money and it hasn't boomed. You can't please everyone, but the main thing you can do is look at it from a logical standpoint. Is myself, I invest the money today, not expecting a return tomorrow, not the next day. Hell, I can let that money go for 5 years and still not worry about it. And that is because I've logically invested based on my means. Now, everyone's different. Everyone's got different bills. Everyone's got this, that, and the other. There's a lot of expenditure that people can, not have. For instance, going to the pub, buying a beer. That money you can invest because I'm not saying you don't care if you lose it, but it's money you would have spent on a night out that would have given you instant gratification for that night. Anyway, that is merely the point. There's no real way I can elaborate anything more onto that, in the sense, instead of overcomplicating it, is because people just need to understand that this thing is not going to happen overnight when you want it to happen. It will happen when all of the payment rails are established, once all of the partnerships are established, once all of the testing's been done. You're talking years here, guys. Like, I believe it's years. Now, I believe, by 2025, we could possibly see a $10 coin. That's pretty bold, based on my analytical standpoint from what I see happening in the space. And a lot of people are under this false hope that it's going to $10,000 coin tomorrow. Bitcoin did it, why can't this do it? The reason Bitcoin was so successful is it's had its time in the media, it's had its blow up, it's had that FOMO push of people investing into it, and the people that generally got super wealthy rich out of it were the people who waited at the start. In the sense of people like me who are patient, people who, they're not getting up every day going, oh, bloody hell, it hasn't gone yet, it hasn't gone yet, it hasn't gone yet. They're people that strategically place their money. They look at this, they look at the utility. Granted, Bitcoin had massive utility from the start due to Silk Road. So that, again, is a double-edged sword. You're talking, it has its utility. We know it worked. It's proven itself to work. In fact, it was a part of a multi-billion-dollar organization, Silk Road, which is just insane. But it come across as a double-edged sword. Well, it can be used for bad purposes, but it worked. So now what's going on right now in the space is, yes, we've got some motion, we've got some ripple effects, we've got some ripples in the water right now, things are starting to happen, and you can see it just based on Bloomberg, for instance. I watched the coverage with them. They're quite fond of Ripple. They give them quite good airtime, but it hasn't reached that mainstream media where it's going to blow up like everyone's expecting. We've got to look at it. The money going into this right now is basically institutions and 1% of the population like myself who do strategic investment. Now, I'm not saying I'm the same as every other person. There's still people out there that invest $10,000 at a time and don't care because that's within their means. But yeah, look, I feel like I'm getting off track in the sense, but my main point is, if you look at it from a logical standpoint, and greed is the biggest point here. Greed, I think it powers all of our ambitions in getting involved in the space. I got involved quite some time back, but I got involved after a hype, which is sort of hypocritical, if you will. But then I looked at it, I learnt my lesson. I didn't invest a large sum of money that I didn't stick everything I've got into it. I invested a small amount, and I was lucky in that regard that, I only bought 10 at a time, or this, that, and the other, or if I had loose change around, I'd go to the bank, cash the change in, and buy some XRP. But yeah, look, there's nothing really more I can say on it, on that. But I'd like to talk more now about where the space is going. Like, for instance, utility. You're looking at... See, I'll touch back on Bitcoin here. Bitcoin was successful, as I said, because of Silk Road. But its value was held because a lot of people held, and all of a sudden, you're hearing, well, for in Australia, we've got a current affair, or you've got these mainstream media channels that give it airtime, and they don't necessarily subject it to bad criticism. They have an open platform where people from one side or the other can talk their bias. They can say, yes, this is good, but no, this is bad. It in itself is giving it airtime and allowing it to manifest into this great big investment that people are getting involved in. So XRP will have its time. It will have its time. But now we've got to look at, okay, how can we stop XRP or any other cryptocurrency from going through the same misuse as Bitcoin? And that's why I believe it's going to take its time. Not only that, Ripple has to explain to multi-million, billion-dollar organizations why they should use their product. Now, if you're in sales, anyone in sales can understand the logic, right? You're not going to buy, you've got to give an incentive. Why? Now, obviously, innovation is the biggest standpoint that it has to, well, it's the biggest leg it's got to stand on, in the sense of it's new. It's like mobile phones. You could either write a letter, send it, or you could invest a small amount of money, or at the time a large amount of money, and buy a phone, which can do the same thing. So your needs versus your wants have to be balanced. And at the moment, we're seeing it because now that MoneyGram have just gone on board, we've got SBI, we're looking at what they want to do with it, but we're not necessarily seeing the price results yet. And that comes down to two things. There's 100 billion coins, right? Which is just ridiculous amount of coins. Bitcoin had 20 million, right? So you're cramming a large sum of money into 20 million. Of course, you're going to see massive results. 100 billion for instance, is a massive division, if you will. I think yesterday I said it was something about $424 billion gets done through escrows, Nostro and Vostro account systems, which is if that money was put into the 100 billion, you're talking a $10 coin, which is, you're not going to get all of that money straight away into XRP, is what I'm trying to say. It's going to be a slow, gradual progress of money being flowed into the system. Now, you can take my advice. I don't sit there every day. I'm not sitting on the YouTube channel criticizing people, saying, "Oh, it hasn't mooned yet. It hasn't mooned yet." I'm not waking up pissed off, stressed about my debt that I've put onto this XRP because I want to get rich overnight. And it's going to cause you a lot of stress, because I see the next 5 years being a really bumpy ride for someone that's invested a shit ton of money right now. You've got the opportunity to, invest within your means. It's dragging out. Well, in reality, no, it's not dragging out. To you and I, it feels like it's dragging out because we're subjected to the YouTube channels, the hype, this constant gratification of something. But realistically, it is moving very, very fast. The space right now is, if you could see and put it into a time category, what they've achieved to this day with 250 plus organizations that not necessarily right now are going to utilize its service, but they've gotten to a point where they realize if we don't use this service when everyone else does, we're screwed. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. And we've got an institutional FOMO in the sense of these companies, if they don't get involved, they're done. So they're all got a seat at the table right now. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to switch live now, because the current system that they implement in terms SWIFT, that Nostro Vostro system, they can charge money to send money. So you're pretty much expecting these billion-dollar organizations to stop making money because you want them to switch live. Now, I don't personally see that going to happen. What I predict is going to happen, and I think my hunch is slowly paying off. I've said this from the start, is these people are all going to have a seat at the table. They're interested. They want to know what it's about. They want to be a part of it, and they don't want to miss out. But they want to see innovation brought to the table so that they can see that there's a new way to make money. And what I mean by make money is they don't necessarily want to lose profit margins in sense of it costs them, $20. It costs someone $20 to send $500 overseas, right? And a large fee is attached to that, which is what makes them money. It generates revenue. Now, everyone knows now that if everyone was to switch live to XRP and use these currencies at a fraction of the cost, they can send money cross-border. It pretty much null and voids their business in the sense of they're not going to make money. These financial institutions aren't going to make money. And for you and I to sit here and criticize them on that, saying they need to do it now, it's pretty naive, to say the least. You wouldn't give up that just so someone else can make a quick buck. You know what I mean? It's you've got to start getting a bit more realistic about your expectations on the situations. So I'm not going to give any price predictions. I did say earlier that I believe by 2025 we will have a $10 coin. I think that's well within the realms of possibility. However, things can move a lot quicker and they can progress a lot quicker because we can't predict the future. And by what I'm saying is you've got these virtual currency exchanges now starting to appear in the midst. Now, this is innovation. We've got a new technology. It's come to the table. Now, what can we do to make money around the new technology? Humans want to make money. So what we're seeing now is SBI going live. Obviously, they've got a system implemented that they can make money. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it. I don't know what the profit margins are going to be doing. But I think they've had time to realize instead of dragging their heels in the sand, this may be a company we already know that's gone behind the scenes and it changed itself. It's reinvented itself in the way it can make money on a new technology. It's had time and it's implemented and it's tested. Now it's going live. Now that's what I'm saying is going to happen. I genuinely believe that we're going to see more of these virtual currency exchanges opening up, which prove me wrong. And what I also think is going to happen is now that there is these virtual currency exchanges, we're going to see the banks. Okay, we got to get to the party now. We got to start doing. So what I think they're going to do, and my apologies to anyone else who said this before me. I haven't heard if anything you've said previous to this video, I openly accept your criticism towards me for you saying it first. But I genuinely haven't heard anyone else say this, and I guess it's more just a thing that's in people's head as a logical explanation. But I think what's going to happen now is the banks, the big financial institutions aren't going to switch straight away live to this. What they're going to do is inject a little bit of a flow. They're going to have these payment rails utilized while using it alongside of their existing systems. So when people think that that's going to happen, if you think that's going to happen and you expect them to flick all of their capital straight away through a payment rail that doesn't make them as much money as the existing one, well, then you're sadly mistaken. What I think is going to happen, and my analogy of this is you've got a 5 million litre swimming pool, and you've got a hole this size in it, right? And it's leaking out slowly. It's slowly leaking out. And every time they try to patch that hole, another one opens up. But it's always going to be one hole, I believe, until we start getting a massive push. And I believe the massive push will be once it hits a mainstream media. If before that, it'll be that point of no return where businesses acknowledge that we've got to do it now. Now, I can't give you a time on when I think that's going to happen. How I think it will work is I think countries with the unbanked societies, what I think is going to happen is I think they're going to utilize the payment rails that are established. I believe, for instance, charities are going to change in the realm, massive change. I believe charities to come, for instance, the foreign aid charities, the charities that you see quite often, you send $50 and only $10 of it gets to the cause due to overheads. What I think is going to happen now is we're going to see a lot of individual people doing a lot of charitable work overseas, and now that we can send 10 cents Australian to a poverty-stricken country, that 10 cents equivalates to something spectacular. So I think we're going to see a lot of change in the charity sectors, and I believe that's going to come quite quick once it does, once we have these exchanges live, once we've got all of these I don't want to say third world, but one of these poverty-stricken countries, once we see the utility go through it in that sense that we can transfer wealth from here to there instantaneously, and it starts hitting emotions in people, like it starts hitting emotions in people, then I think we're going to see a lot more, people are going to say, well, if it works like that, why can't we do it this way? And lo and behold, when it's through the institutional side, it's what we've been saying the whole time is going to happen. But it needs the catalyst. It needs an emotional. I don't want to say emotional input, but I mean it needs to have something that drives home to people why should they use it. Because in Australia, I can transfer bank to bank. If I do it before, I think it's 4:30 in the afternoon PM. I believe if I can transfer, I think anything up to like $5,000 like that during the day. I mean, bank to bank. So there's not really much incentive from a customer like myself standpoint to switch things, because we're not complaining about how long it takes the money to get from A to B. In fact, most people I speak to about any of that, they couldn't give a shit. As long as the money goes there and it's not 2 weeks' time, as long as the money's there. Granted, people want their pays in, but we've become so accustomed to having our pays done on a certain day that these our bosses can pay the night before and it's there when we expect it. We don't see that time in between payment to being settled as a problem because we're expecting payment on a certain date. What this is going to do, XRP especially, or cryptos, it's going to allow for, maybe in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, it's going to allow for instant payment per the minute, per the second. You're at someone's house, you're doing a job, you're getting paid by the minute, you're getting paid by the second, you have your lunch, you clock off, bang, you're not getting paid for that. It's going to be a more efficient, streamlined system, and that's not going to happen overnight. And it's only when that happens, when we've got every single person utilizing this system, that's when we're going to see astronomical prices for our investment. We're not going to see it with one little thing here, one little thing there. Granted, as I said, the swimming pool hole is, the water's going out. It's going from Swift's pool into our pool, and it's happening. But we can't make it happen faster. We can, but we've got to look at it from our investment standpoint as well. Why would we try to rush our investment? Me and you don't know exactly how it works or if it works perfectly, streamlessly. We get told that the facility is, 1,500 transactions per second, which now has yesterday gone up to 50,000 transactions per second. Astronomical numbers, but we haven't really... I'm not going to say I haven't tested it. I haven't tested that it can do 1,500 transactions per second. I haven't tested that it can do 50,000 transactions per second. We can take word for it that they have said it and they have tried it and maybe it does work. But we haven't yet seen, there's... Anyway, look, I know I'm getting getting way too over the top here with it. What I'm trying to say to you guys is, the investment that you've made in XRP, providing you've done it strategically within your means and it's money that you're not stressed about, just leave it. Just let it do its thing. What more proof do you want that Ripple is doing the right thing? Every single day you wake up, you're torturing yourself over the thought that it's not going to boom right now. Yet, what more can they do? They can't hold a gun to these businesses' head and say you need to use it now. And that's the mentality that I see in a lot of people, is what they expect. They expect this, this instant thing to happen. And I give full credit to Love for Crypto, Scott. He says it just perfectly. Like, everything he says resonates with me because he's patient. He understands that, it's going to happen. We know it's going to happen. So why is it that you're trying to rush it? It's like a cake. You got to let the fucking thing bake itself properly. And my last point is, and this is just merely my last point, and I'll use the cake analogy, right? What you guys are expecting to happen right now with this massive overnight pop, oh, we're rich. I want that to happen too. I really do. But it's not logical. And if we're, you don't pull a cake out of the oven. It needs to be in there for 180 degrees for 45 minutes or however long it needs to be in. Now, you can't speed that up. You can't chuck it up higher because you'll burn it. There's no way of speeding that process up. It needs to be in there for 45 minutes. And that's that. There's nothing else you can say. That's how it works. Now, Ripple, they would love every business, every organization in the world. It's their core principle. They want this thing to work. Now, they're working day and night tirelessly. They're employing 400 people here and there and everywhere. They're partnering. They're investing into businesses. They've got massive platform. They're in the media. They're donating money to charities. They're doing everything right. You guys need to just wait. Just please wait and take this as a gift, right? You've got time now to strategically put money away. You've got time to go and get an afternoon job, cleaning wheelie bins, doing whatever it needs to be done so you can get that extra little bit of money so when it does pop, it's all worth it. Now, and that's what I mean. If we try to make this thing happen and we put all of this bad hype, it hasn't happened yet, you've got these people that then manifest into these negative mentalities towards XRP, and that in turn has a worse effect on it than all of us being positive, being silent investors and just waiting. That's what they want. If they wouldn't have put this coin out there on the market. They wouldn't have done it if it's a shitty banker's coin, because they could have just injected all that capital straight into it from the SWIFT system and we couldn't have got bugger all out of it. But the fact is, they've allowed every single person the opportunity to get a piece of the pie. All they want you to do is just wait. Just wait. You will be rewarded. And when it's right and when it's ready, then go for it. Then talk. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm sorry it got heated. This wasn't directed at everyone. I mean, granted, there's a lot of people out there that do the right thing by themselves and their families and the people around them by not investing everything they got as like a gambling problem. But yeah, just look at the journey and look at what you're a part of this global shift of wealth. The biggest transfer of wealth yet to be ever recorded is happening in front of our eyes, and all it takes is you guys to just wait, be a part of the ride, and enjoy it. Because when you get the reward, it's going to taste a lot better. Anyway, thank you guys, and yeah, have a lovely day.